In 1816, summer never came. Across Europe and North America, the sky turned to perpetual hazy twilight. June brought snow, crops withered and died, and a chilling, unprecedented cold gripped the land. Food prices exploded. Riots erupted in city squares, and whole communities wondered if the world was ending. This wasn't a localized blip. It was a global crisis, a season stolen. But the astonishing truth was that this disaster, unfolding thousands of kilometers from its origin, had begun more than a year earlier, with a single cataclysmic event on a remote island, an event that unleashed a chain reaction, reshaped societies, and inspired masterpieces of art and literature. How could one geological event on the other side of the planet plunge half the world into famine and darkness? And what did a group of writers trapped indoors by incessant rain have to do with the birth of a literary monster, or the invention of the bicycle? The story of 1816 is a definitive reminder of just how profoundly interconnected our world truly is, a global domino effect set in motion by a force few at the time could even comprehend. For centuries, a majestic volcano named Mount Tambora had stood dormant on the Indonesian island of Sumbawa. Its peak, nearly 4,300 meters high, dominated the landscape. But in 1812, Tambora stirred. Locals reported increased activity, tremors, and plumes of ash, a prelude to an awakening. Then, on April 5, 1815, Tambora erupted with a force that rattled the foundations of the earth. But this was merely a warning shot. 5 days later, on April 10th and 11th, Tambora unleashed its full fury. The eruption reached a staggering VEI 7, making it the largest confirmed volcanic event in recorded history. An estimated 100 to 150 cubic kilometers of rock, ash, and volcanic gases were blasted into the atmosphere. The explosion was so powerful it was heard more than 2,000 kilometers away. Villages near the summit were instantly incinerated by pyroclastic flows, superheated currents of gas and debris. Massive tsunamis, triggered by the collapse of the volcano's caldera, ravaged nearby islands. Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles, the British administrator of Java, documented eyewitness accounts describing a sky choked with ash and an omnipresent darkness. The direct death toll was tens of thousands, but the volcano wasn't finished. Its true impact was only just beginning to unfurl, silently spreading across the globe, carried by invisible currents high above the earth. What few understood at the time was the invisible killer Tambora had launched into the stratosphere, a colossal cloud of sulfur dioxide. Estimates suggest between 10 to 120 million tons of sulfur were injected directly into the upper atmosphere. Once there, this sulfur dioxide reacted with water vapor to form a vast reflective veil of sulfate aerosols. This veil didn't just hang over Indonesia. High-altitude winds carried it around the entire planet, creating a sunshade for the Earth. By late 1815 and into 1816, this global atmospheric blanket began to do its work. Average global temperatures plummeted by an estimated 4 to 0, 7 degrees Celsius. It sounds subtle, but the effects were anything but. People across continents began to report strange phenomena. Vivid red sunsets, a persistent dry fog that obscured the sun, and an eerie dimness to the daylight. Sunspots, normally invisible, became visible to the naked eye through the haze. These were not simply curiosities. They were symptoms of a planet in distress, a world about to experience an unprecedented climate shift. The stage was set for the year 1816, a year that would become known by a chilling moniker, the year without a summer. In the spring of 1816, the expected warmth of summer simply didn't arrive. Across Britain, Ireland, France, Germany, and Switzerland, the skies remained gray and perpetually damp. June brought not sunshine, but snow. Endless, cold rain lashed down, saturating the fields and rotting crops in the ground. The critical growing season was a total loss. Further west in the northeastern United States, the situation was equally dire. Frost occurred in every single month of the year. Snow fell in June in New England, wiping out fledgling harvests. Farmers, utterly bewildered, replanted their fields repeatedly, only to see each successive attempt succumb to the unseasonable cold. This wasn't merely inconvenient weather. It was an existential threat. Grain prices skyrocketed to unheard-of levels, pushing vast populations into destitution. Famine gripped entire regions, sparking widespread food riots and social unrest. Thousands of desperate Americans abandoned their ruined farms, joining a westward migration in search of fertile land and a future. Even halfway around the world, the echoes of Tambora were felt. In China, Rice harvests failed in several provinces, leading to widespread famine. India, too, saw crop failures, and some historians suggest the climatic disruptions contributed to a wider spread of cholera in the subsequent years, though the direct link remains debated. The silent killer from Tambora had turned into a global catastrophe, touching every corner of society, forcing humanity to confront an enemy it couldn't see, an enemy it couldn't even name. Amidst this global climate chaos, an unlikely gathering took place in the summer of 1816. Near Lake Geneva, Switzerland, the persistent cold and rain trapped a group of literary titans indoors. Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, and John Polidori were sheltering from the incessant gloom, a gloom that felt apocalyptic. Instead of sun-drenched European vistas, they saw only perpetual twilight and driving rain. This confinement, born of Tambora's wrath, forced their imaginations inward. Byron challenged each to write a ghost story. From this impromptu contest, two foundational pieces of horror emerged. Lord Byron penned his atmospheric poem, Darkness, an apocalyptic vision of a sunless world. But it was Mary Shelley, a young woman just 19 years old, who conceived a story that would forever haunt the human psyche. Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus. The very conditions created by Tambora's eruption, the dim light, the oppressive weather, the pervasive sense of dread, became the fertile ground for one of literature's most enduring monsters. Polidori, Byron's physician, would also later produce The Vampire, helping to shape the modern vampire myth, a natural disaster, an act of geological violence thousands of miles away, had inadvertently midwifed the birth of genres that continue to define our popular culture today. The Year Without a Summer climaxed not in a single dramatic event, but in a prolonged, grinding crisis of human survival. The relentless cold and rain had obliterated the oat harvest across much of Europe, leading to an acute shortage of horse feed. Horses, the primary mode of transport and agricultural power, became increasingly expensive to maintain, or simply starved. This crisis of oats created an unforeseen opportunity for innovation. In 1817, a German inventor named Karl Dreiss introduced his Draisine, a two-wheeled human-powered vehicle, essentially a proto-bicycle. It allowed a person to propel themselves by pushing off the ground with their feet. While the direct causal link is debated, many historians suggest the devastating shortage of horse fodder after Tambora's eruption likely accelerated interest in alternative forms of personal transportation. The simple act of moving, of traveling, had become a luxury, and Dreiss's invention offered a potential solution to a world still reeling from a lost summer. The Draisine, born from necessity, was a glimpse into a future where human ingenuity could circumvent the direct impacts of even the most profound natural disasters. The world was slowly, painstakingly, adapting to a new normal, forever changed by the dust in the sky. As the reflective sulfate aerosols gradually dissipated from the stratosphere, global temperatures slowly began to normalize in 1817 and beyond. The crisis of the Year Without a Summer eventually receded from daily headlines, though its impacts lingered for years in economic hardship, altered migration patterns, and ongoing famine. For generations, the true cause remained a mystery to most. People attributed the strange weather to divine wrath, sunspots, or unusual atmospheric cycles. It wasn't until the late 1800s that scientists began to draw the connection between major volcanic eruptions and global cooling. It took even longer for the full scope of Tambora's influence to be understood. In 1979, oceanographers Henry and Elizabeth Stommel popularized the phrase, "the year without a summer" through Scientific American, bringing this forgotten global event back into public consciousness. Today, Tambora remains the most recent confirmed VEI-7 eruption and serves as a critical benchmark for studying the profound and far-reaching climate impacts of volcanic activity. It stands as a stark reminder of Earth's interconnected systems and our own vulnerability to forces beyond our control. The story of Tambora and the Year Without a Summer reveals a fundamental truth. Our world is a complex, interconnected web where a single event, no matter how geographically remote, can trigger a cascade of consequences that reshape societies. It highlights the often invisible pathways through which natural forces ripple across continents, influencing everything from agriculture and economics to art and innovation. It's a testament to the resilience of human ingenuity, but also a sober warning about our place within a larger, dynamic planet. We may live in an age of advanced science, but the ghost of Tambora reminds us that the Earth still holds secrets, and its deep forces can still command our attention, demanding adaptation, understanding, and a profound respect for the delicate balance of our global environment. If you're fascinated by the hidden events that shaped history, consider subscribing. Your support helps us uncover more stories of our complex world.